So I thought today we would draw a wolf. We're going to draw a wolf head. So we got a little bit of a challenge ahead of us today, but I know you guys can do it. I've got with me, I'm going to be using a pencil to start with. I'm going to draw some helping lines to help me get started, and then I'm going to go back over with a fine tip micron pen. And if you don't have one of these at home, a fine Sharpie pen will do, but we want to try and not use anything with a really big tip. So we want to have a fairly small tip. And you can get these micron pens at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, basically anywhere that has nice art supplies. This is an 8-pack. It comes with these two kind of bonus pens. It comes with the brush pen and the graphic pen, but typically you can get a 6-pack that just has these in here, and then it shows you the different size tips down at the bottom as they increase in size. So if you're interested in getting some of these, they are available at most art supply stores, and then you can probably order them online from Amazon or places like that. So you're going to start with a curve. Not a very large curve, and this is going to be the top of his head. On either end of your curve, we're going to draw two curves that go in, so we want our curves going in, and this is going to help us later on with where the ears go. So we've got a curve for the top of his head, and then we've got two curves going in on either side. Now at the end of these curves, we're going to draw another curve going out. So I'm going to start at the end of my line here, very carefully sketch my curve going out. And this one's going to be a little bit bigger than our first one we did, because this is going to be the larger part of his head. So I've got one curve going out on this side. I need another one on this side. So again, I'm going to start at the end of my line here. I'm going to curve out. And notice when I get down to the bottom, I start to curve back in a little bit. Now our last little bit down here is going to be the bottom part of his mouth. So we're going to draw a diagonal line. Same here. Diagonal line. And then we're just going to connect those two lines together. So far you should kind of have this funky looking shape right here. It kind of looks like an alligator head. And up at the top, where we have this indentation here, this is where we are going to draw his ears, and we're going to use that as our unit of measure later on to get the positioning of the eyes and the nose and mouth down here at the bottom. So right at this corner right here, I'm going to draw a line, and then I'm going to go up to the corner and start to curve. And then once I curve, I'm going to start going up because I want to give him a triangular shaped ear. So I'm going to go up and put a little curve on it. And then I'm going to curve around and in. and back down. And I'm not worried about connecting right now because later on we're going to fill this gap in with his fur. So I'm not worried about connecting my line down here. I just want to get his ear drawn. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to have my corner here. I've got a line coming out, short little line. And then again, when I get to the corner, I'm going to turn and start going up. And I'm going to draw the second ear, so I'm turning, going up. I want to try and make it about the same height as my first ear, putting that little hook on the end. Curving in and back down. And you don't have to worry too much about getting the ears exactly right. Their ears are not always the exact same shape. And a lot of times when they're puppies and they're playing and they're roughhousing, a lot of times they end up with a piece missing out of their ear, a little chunk or a little section missing. So their ears are not always the same. So if your ears don't match, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Now that we've got our ears done, we're going to use our ears to measure where our eyes go. So I'm going to take my fingers and I'm going to measure from the top of my ear down to my curve. So I've got my measure. And then I'm going to put my fingers at the top of my head and start at the top of my head. And then where my thumb stops is where our eyes are going to go. And that helps us get our eyes in place. And then you can measure from the top of your head to where your thumb stopped. And then put your finger at your line and then your thumb down at the bottom. And wherever your thumb stops, that is where his nose is going to go. So we've got a little tick mark here for where our eyes are going to go and a little mark here for his nose. I'm going to draw the eyes in pencil, and then after that everything else I'm going to do in marker. So where we have our line here for our eye position, I'm going to scooch over just a little bit, about even with where my curve stops up here. So if you want to put your pencil up here and draw an imaginary line down, it's about where we're going to start. And I'm just going to put a little scribble right there, and that's going to be the corner of my wolf's eye. Now I'm going to start at my little scribble and draw a little curve, and then I'm going to curve in and back up. It's kind of like a little bird shape. So I'm starting at my little scribble. I'm going up, curving in, around, and back up. Now down here at this little scribble I made, we want to turn that into a point or a triangle shape. So I'm going to do just a little line to get that triangular shape. And once I have my triangular shape, I'm going to draw a curve. And another triangle shape at the end. And once I do that, I'm going to bring my triangle and just touch it up to my curved line that I drew. And once I do that, I want to color these two sections in. I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to wait until I switch over to my pen. But I'm going to color those two sections in. Now I'm going to scooch over to the other side. And I want to try and make sure my eye is in the same spot. So I can put my pencil here and kind of draw an imaginary line And again, I'm starting with that little scribble down at the bottom. Once I draw my little scribble, remember we're starting with a line going up. We're going to go in and then back up. Okay, next we're going to do our triangles again. So I'm going to start my little scribble. I'm going to draw my point or my triangle. Then I'm going to draw my curve, my second triangle, and then I'm going to come back in with my curve on top. And again, later on, I want to color in my triangle, so I'm going to draw a line here and here to help me remember where to color in. Lastly, I'm going to add a little bit of a shape between the eyes down to the nose that will help me later on. So we're going to start with a curve a little bit above your eyebrow here. So I'm going to curve around my eye. Start heading down to where my nose is going to be. When I get almost a little bit more than halfway, I'm going to curve out and down. And same thing on this side, I'm going to start a little bit above my eyebrow, curving down, almost halfway. I'm going to curve out and down. And I'm going to draw a little shape across. Now I'm going to switch over to my pen, and we're going to start adding fur and some shading. So about at the base of my ear, I'm going to start drawing some zigzags. So I'm going to start in the curve of my ear here. I'm going to draw zigzags following this shape down to the base of my ear. And I'm also going to draw zigzags around the ear. And I'm going to add a little bit of shading inside the ear also. And we're going to do the same thing on this side, a little bit of shading where we started in this curve. And I'm going to start zigzagging up the ear. And I'm going to zigzag in this curve here. And same on this side, a couple of zigzags. And shading inside the ear. Now once you've got your ears done, you can go in and do the top of your head. So we've got our ears done. We can go ahead and move down and work on our eyes a little bit. So this that I marked earlier, I'm going to color in black. So I'm going to color my little scribble. And then I'm going to color in my shapes. I'll go ahead and outline my eye. And outline my curve. And I'm going to color in my other corner of my eye. going to draw the pupil. A little bit of reflection and color my pupil in. And I'm going to move over to the other side, outlining first. I'm going to outline my little scribble. I'm going to outline my curve that I drew. And then I'm going to move and outline my eye. And then I'm going to color in the corners of my eye. And I'm going to add my pupils and my reflection. Go back and color those in. So we've got our eyes done. Next we're going to start adding some more fur. And I'm going to start with our shape that we drew here. So I'm going to follow this curve and do some zigzags all across our wolf's forehead. So I'm going to start where we drew our line. And as I go up, I'm going to start making my strokes a little bit longer. And then I'm going to make them shorter as I start to come back down. And I can add some zigzags up here at the top. And now I'm going to bring my lines back down and trace over this shape that I drew, and I'm also going to shade it in as well. And then I'm going to color shade it in. So far we've got our ears and our eyes and a little bit of our forehead done. Now we're going to move and start working on the rest of the face. So I'm going to start at the end of my eye and do a zigzag around, and I'm going to follow this shape that we drew with our pencils. And I'm going to zigzag around and stop when I get about to the corner of my eye. So I'm going to start at the tip of my line here. I'm going to start zigzagging, following this shape here. And stopping when I get about to the corner of the eye. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side, so starting at my eyebrow here, and then I'm going to zigzag around and stop when I get to the corner of my eye. Alright, next step. We're going to add the corners of his mouth. They're going to be about a diagonal line from the corner right here. So I'm just going to put two kind of teardrop or raindrop shapes diagonal from the corners here. And my pencil mark is right here for where the nose goes. So I'm going to start with a curve under the shading that we did. And I'm going to put a little rectangle on either end of my curve. And then I'm going to add 2 diagonal lines and connect them together. And then I'm going to go back in and shade or color in the nose. And I'll leave it a little bit of a shiny spot. Now we're going to draw the part of his mouth. So I'm going to start a little bit below the nose. And again, I'm just going to draw a simple little rectangular shape that goes up and stops at the corners of his mouth. So I'm going to do a little bit of a curve, go up and touch the corners. And I'm going to go ahead and add the bottom of his mouth. And they typically have a little bit of a dark spot under their nose. So I'm going to add that shading. With the pen. And last, we're going to add the rest of his fur to give him the final shape of his face. So for this side, I'm going to start at the ear and zigzag around and come in right below the eye. So I'm going to start at the base of the ear. Just going to zigzag. There's really no right or wrong way to zigzag. And then I'm going to start curving in when I get close to the base of his eye. And then I can add some hair in that gap there if I want. Next, we're going to do the fur on this side, but we're going to come around and go all the way to the corner of his mouth instead of stopping under his eye. So I'm going to start at the base of his ear. I'm going to zigzag down. And I'm going to start moving in so I can get close to the corner and be where I need to be when I get down to the bottom. And again, if you want to add some hair in the gaps, you can. And last but not least, we're going to draw the very bottom part of his head. So I'm going to start about here. And I'm going to zigzag down. When I get about to the corner of his mouth, I'm going to go in. So I'm zigzagging down, I'm going in, and then back down. And I can either keep going, or I'm going to start on this side. Start about in the same place. I'm going to zigzag down. And again, I want to start coming in so I can connect down here at the bottom. And then if you've got places you want to go in and add some fur, you can. And that is our wolf. I hope you had fun drawing your wolf. I enjoyed drawing mine. I think he came out really well. And again, the key to having a good looking wolf, you need two things. You need good eyes and you need good fur. And as long as you have that or work on those two details, you will have a successful drawing. Thank you for drawing along with me, and if you would like to see more of my videos or know when I'm uploading videos, like or subscribe down at the bottom. And I will see you guys next time.